A significant, widespread severe weather outbreak for multiple days is expected across the United States with strong tornadoes, large to very large hail, and also some widespread damaging winds. Go along with that, we also have some significant flash flooding to look at. Then on the winter side, we're talking about a big winter storm with heavy snow and more crippling ice that could cause some problems on the roadways and to some infrastructure as we go through the weekend ahead. So let's look at the multiple days of severe weather we do have, and it continues as we go into today. We have an enhanced risk of severe weather from the central into the southern plains, an upgrade to a moderate risk, level 4 out of 5, across the Ohio and Tennessee River Valley, down into the mid-Mississippi River Valley, and the large enhanced risk from Texas all the way to Michigan as we go into tomorrow on Wednesday. Slight risk as we go into Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and probably even into Sunday as well. And the culprit is this long wave trough across the western United States that's going to park itself across the west for several days. Here we go into Wednesday. You can see as we go into Thursday, it's just going to continue to emanate across the western United States, even as we go into this upcoming weekend. But finally, by Sunday, we're starting to see a push from a stronger trough up in Canada that will kind of get this other trough in the desert southwest into high gear and kind of move it along as we go into later next weekend here. So we are looking at a level 3 out of 5, an enhanced risk of severe weather today across western Missouri, parts of Kansas, especially east central Kansas, and down into east central portions of Oklahoma. And to zoom it in, cities that are at risk here are Kansas City, Topeka, all the way down here into Wichita, Emporia, Kansas, down into Tulsa, Oklahoma City, Norman, all the way down to Lawton and Fort Sill, and hugging up against the Red River Valley there towards North Texas. We even have a slight risk as well. Marginal risk extending up into northern Illinois as we go through the late night hours. Main threat here is going to be for some big hail as these storms really start to feed off that instability and the moisture out there. Big hailstones, 2 to perhaps 3 inches in diameter, will be possible. Hailstones could be up to baseball, maybe even softball size as we go through this evening. And then we're going to be watching for a robust tornado threat and a 5% shading there in the brown, but especially the yellow hatched area. That's where we have a 10% chance of even some strong to intense long track tornadoes. And when we say long track tornadoes, those are tornadoes that could be on the ground for 10, 20, 30, even 40 minutes at a time. Those are the tornadoes that are on the ground the longest, that produce usually the stronger ratings and that produce the most damage. And that's what we could see in east central Kansas and east central Oklahoma heading into this evening. Then as those storms grow a little bit upscale further north into a QLCS line in eastern Kansas and northwestern portions of Missouri, kind of centered around the Kansas City and St. Joseph area back toward Wichita, they could be producing some isolated instances of some 70, even 80 mile per hour winds and some significant wind damage overnight tonight. So a lot to get to here. Let's talk about the setup. Our dew points are still starting to climb across Kansas especially, but 50s and 60s dew points already starting to advect north from the Gulf all the way up into Oklahoma and Texas. And as we go into the afternoon, notice those 50 dew points, even 60s dew points rapidly surge north into portions of east central Kansas there, and notice the dew points even in North Texas around 70 degrees. This is going to increase our instability, and notice the brighter the colors there, the more energy there is in the atmosphere to produce severe weather. And notice those values get brighter as you go down into Oklahoma, but especially Texas. Those reds and purples, that's 3,000 to 4,000 joules per kilogram, some very strong instability. Now this is your low level jet. This is a kilometer above the Earth's surface here and above our heads. Notice this is over 50 knots here already this afternoon, around mid-afternoon, and that will increase as we go into the evening hours, and you can see that increases to around 60 knots. And notice as those storms may start to initiate 4, maybe 5 o'clock late this afternoon toward the dinner time frame, those significant tornado parameter values are around 4, 5, and 6s out of 10, still pretty decent, so we're going to be watching out for that. But as that low-level jet really increases as we head into the evening hours, especially sunset and thereafter, as it naturally does, look at the whites and grays on here. That's over a 70 to even an 80 knot low-level jet. That is as extreme low-level wind shear as you can get. And notice here the significant tornado parameter just continues to just climb quickly this evening here across southeastern Kansas, especially into east central Oklahoma and into north Texas. 23, 24 out of 10. Very high parameter space. So I think a moderate risk upgrade for severe weather would be possible in parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and perhaps far north Texas later on today. The reason for that, as we look for the initiation here, this is around 4 o'clock here as we go into the afternoon. 4 to 6 o'clock is when we're looking at for initiation back here just west of the OKC metro. We're talking Elk City, El Reno, down toward Lawton and Fort Sill. And these storms, as they develop, they could develop very quickly as an explosive environment, favorable for intense tornadoes. That could be long track, big hail, okay, 2 to 3 inches in diameter, and some 60 to 80 mile an hour winds, definitely possible. More storms developing further north into Nebraska and Kansas. And then notice how those storms are kind of individual, or at least kind of somewhat close to each other. That's what we call discrete or semi-discrete supercells, and those are the ones that could produce those big-time tornadoes even after dark, and those will continue to shift towards western and southwestern Missouri, continuing to produce some tornado potential as we go into the after-dark time frame, and then we'll start to see a line of storms develop up there from Omaha towards Kansas City. That could be upscale growth to where we could see more of a good rush of wind out of the leading edge of that line, 60 to 80 miles an hour, some hail, even some isolated tornadoes along the kinks of that line on the leading edge. Something to keep an eye on. This is your updraft helicity. The brighter the color, the better the storm updraft will be, the stronger it is. And you can see where those long track tornadoes could be down here into central portions in eastern Oklahoma, even a couple longer track tornadoes in southeastern and eastern Kansas as well. And we look over here at especially the Sooner state of Oklahoma. Notice those updraft helicities are very long tracked. That means if a tornado is produced by one of these intense supercells, they could be on the ground for a significant amount of time as we go into the evening hours. So have multiple ways to receive watches and warnings, including having a NOAA weather radio for your county on, so you are alerted for tornado warnings even after you go to bed tonight here across portions of the central and southern plains. And it doesn't get any better tomorrow. We actually have an upgrade to a moderate risk of severe weather from southern Indiana into western Kentucky, southern Illinois, western Tennessee, the boot heel of Missouri into eastern portions of Arkansas and extreme northwestern portions of Mississippi. Large enhanced risk covering areas from the southern Great Lakes like lower Michigan all the way back down to the southern plains in the Red River Valley and north central Texas. A big day of severe weather again tomorrow. Widespread damaging winds here across portions of the southern Great Lakes into the Ohio Valley and mid-Mississippi River Valley. We also have a chance for some big hail again from southern Lake Michigan all the way back to North Texas. Hailstones up to baseball size here at times, and a significant tornado threat, even more significant than tonight so far at a 15% hatched risk there across the mid-Mississippi Valley. I think this 10% area could actually shift a little bit further north and west here as well toward northern Illinois, and we'll talk about that here in just a moment. Tomorrow morning, right out the gate, you're heading off to work, heading off to school, seeing a complex of showers and storms with some severe weather attached to it as well, with some damaging winds, hail, and a couple isolated tornadoes. The tornado threat would be greatest here, I think, across Missouri, Arkansas, down into eastern Oklahoma tomorrow morning. As we head toward the midday hours, that'll continue to shift off toward Michigan, parts of eastern Illinois, northeastern Illinois, getting some noisy weather as we go into the late morning and early afternoon. The big question mark is, do we start to see some destabilization after the morning storms? Do we see the sunshine come out? Do the storms stop across portions of the Midwest, especially into eastern Iowa, northern Illinois, and northeast Missouri here near the triple point of this low pressure system? Like we mentioned, Missouri down here into Arkansas and eastern Oklahoma will have some tornado potential in the morning as those significant tornado parameter values are over 10s. So that is still some pretty significant values. But do we get recovery time behind those morning storms? Notice the dew points start to rise very quickly here around early to mid-afternoon tomorrow across northeast Missouri, eastern Iowa, and northern Illinois, according to the 12Z HRRR. Dew points surging into the middle 60s, especially around the Davenport Quad Cities, Peoria, up toward Rockford, Illinois, as that warm front lays out there potentially across the Illinois state line up and toward Wisconsin. and southern lower Michigan. And you can see as that quickly starts to destabilize the atmosphere, our instability starts to climb in tandem with it, over 1,000 joules per kilogram. And you can see as we have wind shear coming in with the base of that trough, really strong 500 millibar mid-level jet streak here over 120 knots is going to be favorable to organize these thunderstorms and to sustain these thunderstorms for a long period of time. And also you look at the low-level jet in the morning hours, that's what's going to sustain our complex of storms. That will weaken as it shifts east into the Ohio Valley, but a secondary low-level jet will start to get going here across portions of the Midwest as we go into tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. So watching out for the potential second round of severe weather here across the Midwest. Does that start up here from around Madison, Wisconsin, towards Davenport, down toward Macomb and Galesburg, all the way into Quincy, Illinois, towards portions there of Kirksville, Missouri? That is the big question mark. How, unstable does the atmosphere get as we go into tomorrow afternoon will dictate the potential for these storms. Otherwise, we're going to see more storms across portions of Indiana, downstate Illinois, Missouri, down toward the Boot Heel, and into portions of Arkansas. Those will shift east with a significant tornado threat, widespread damaging winds, hail, and a flooding threat as well. So why are we so adamant here about northern Illinois? Well, the warm front and triple point, where you have the occluding low pressure system, the warm front, and the dry line cold front combo here across this region, is going to increase our significant tornado potential into the afternoon, at least for a few hours there around Rockford, Davenport, Peoria, Princeton, over there towards Chicago. And this could lead to values of 15 to 16 out of 10. So any storms that fire in this environment would be capable of producing some significant tornadoes. Again, that's more probably a nowcasting thing as we get into tomorrow. Severe weather continues on Thursday. Slight risk for northeast Texas all the way up toward Pittsburgh there. And then as we go into Friday, again, Texas up there towards Cincinnati. And then as we go into Saturday, Texas again up there toward Lexington. So we got many days of severe weather ahead as we even go into the upcoming weekend. And you can see just round after round of storms that just continue to emanate off of that trough and continue to bring rounds of heavy rainfall and flash flooding potential as well. This is also going to be producing some river flooding in some areas. I definitely think that's going to be the case. Widespread bullseye here in the mid-Mississippi Valley, a double-digit rainfall totals, 8 to 12 inches here in a lot of these areas. And if you zoom it in, areas like Little Rock, Jonesboro down here into Cape Girardeau, Carbondale, Paducah, into Clarksville and Jackson, Tennessee, into Memphis, all the way up to Evansville, Louisville, Lexington, Cincinnati. You guys are in the bullseye for 8 to 12 inches of rain, and there could be some localized areas in here that see greater than a foot of rain, up toward 18, maybe even 20 inches. Definitely a possibility for some overperformance on the rainfall totals. The cold side, we're talking about some heavy snow and a crippling ice storm again for areas near the upper Great Lakes. The pink is the ice, the blue is the heavy snow, and notice the snowfall is more likely into Ontario, but we could see some plowable snow across northern Minnesota, northern Wisconsin, the UP of Michigan. Big ice storm potentially from Maine into portions there of northern New Hampshire and northern Vermont. Back into Quebec, we could be seeing some significant icing accumulations, and some of those could be for power outages that could last days. So we're going to be watching you up there as well. Looking at a plowable snow, areas in north central Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas, far northern Wisconsin, and the UP of Michigan. Stretching over into Ontario and Quebec, could be seeing anywhere from 6 to 10 inches of snow. And then looking here at the ice storm threat, mainly for southern Ontario, southern Quebec, but I'm really concerned about Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Some of these areas actually over here in the Northeast could actually be seeing ice accumulations again around 1/4 to as much as 3/4 of an inch of ice, and that could cause a lot of hazardous travel to impossible travel and some widespread power outages that could last days here in these areas. So something to watch out for. Finally, we get a breather as we go into the second week of April, April 7th through the 12th. So next Monday, April 7th through the following Saturday of April 12th, we get a ridge out west promoting warmer temperatures for our friends out across the Intermountain West, and a trough in the east as that comes down from Canada, bringing us some cooler air and a stronger cold front that'll go all the way to the Gulf Coast and Florida with below normal temperatures. We could even have some frost and freeze risks here at times in the east, and then warmer temperatures across the west as we go into the second week of April. Here's this week a lot of rain as we go into this week across the mid-Mississippi Valley. There's no mistake about that. Widespread river flooding. We could be having significant flash flooding just be be watching out for any flash flood watches, warnings, and emergencies that are issued. You want to seek higher ground for that. Then as we go here into the second week of April, finally we get a breather from the severe weather and the heavy rainfall as we begin to dry out here across the middle of the country. But I do believe this will be a brief break as we go into the third week of April. We could get very active again with more heavy rain, flooding, and severe weather. So take the break as we can get it here into the second week of April. Thank you all for watching. I know this was a long video, a lot of information, vital information to get to you. Make sure to like the video by giving it a thumbs up. Share this video with as many people as you can, friends, family, and on social media. Help me out. Definitely appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel here if you are new to get the most accurate, reliable, and detailed weather information here on YouTube. You can count on that. Thank you for watching, everybody, and stay safe out there as we go through this week and into the weekend. Have multiple ways to receive watches and warnings, whether that's for flash flood warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, or tornado warnings. Make sure to have multiple ways to get those warnings, whether it's a local TV meteorologist, a YouTuber, or even your NOAA weather radio. Just have multiple ways to get those warnings, watches, and advisories heading into this weekend. Thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful and safe rest of your week out there.